Good evening. Happy live. Thank you for popping in. Today I'm going to go over the normal, which is answer your guys' questions and answers, as well as give you the real estate update and do some happy news, okay? So I'm going to dive right into the first question. Again, if you guys have any questions, feel free to write them in the chat. Otherwise, I will just answer ones that have come in throughout the week. Hopefully you guys are all enjoying the warm weather, minus the odd shower here and there. And it's just good to see you guys. It's been a while, so thank you for popping in. So the first question comes from Jeanette, and Jeanette is in Aurelia. So Jeanette asked, oops, wrong page. Jeanette asked, I saw a legal duplex and an illegal basement apartment home recently, and the non-legal one was more money. How is that possible? Thank you, Jeanette, for asking. So to be honest, the sellers can ask whatever they like. So just because it's illegal doesn't mean that it's going to be less money. Also, it could be in better shape. It could be in a better neighborhood. It could be a newer home, newer furnace, newer windows, etc. So just because one's legal and one's not doesn't mean that the legal one is automatically worth more or going to sell for more. But thank you for asking. Hopefully that answers that in a short, quick, brief answer. So again, I do some happy news first before the real estate updates, okay? So there was a lady, and she was in, I believe it was Maryland, but let me look. And she was a realtor for 35 years, and she got into real estate when she was 30. And when she was 65, she couldn't go up to the second story of homes that she was selling. You know, she was bringing the buyers through, etc. So she'd say, okay, just go upstairs and look around, look at the bedrooms, etc. Let me know what you think. Because she was so out of shape, she could not get upstairs. So she decided she wanted to do something about it. And fast forward to now, she is 78 and a 19 world record book holder. And she can, I have to read what she can do. She's done 25 powerlifting competitions, and 23 she has won. And she can deadlift 381 pounds. She can squat 413 pounds, and she can bench 203 pounds. And she said she wants to inspire other women despite of their age to take care of their health. And this year she's competing in the state, national, and world championships. So I thought that was pretty cool. She is 78 years old. So a couple more questions before we get into the real estate. Hi, Margie. How are you? Hi, Janice. Hi, Greg. Thank you guys for popping in. There's something in my teeth. I apologize. Next question is from Mary, and Mary is from Barrie. Mary said, do you think the interest rates will go up more this year from the Bank of Canada? I'm going to talk about that a bit more later, Mary. So there's 3 more times that they can go up this year, but I will go over that later. So that's a great question. And to be honest, some economists are saying that it will still go up a bit, but not as drastic as last Wednesday. I'm sorry, you can see my dog in the background just got on the couch. And others are saying because of the drastic one last Wednesday that was 1%, that they won't go up anymore this year. But I will go over that. Big hugs to you, Margie. So the next thing is it's not a question, but it's about a tooth fairy. So there was a little girl and her mother on a plane, and they had just come back from Norway, and they were going to South Carolina. They had a 36-hour delay in Newark. And once they finally got off the plane in South Carolina, the mom was obviously delighted, but the 6-year-old little girl was not, because she had lost her tooth. Like it came out, but she didn't have her physical tooth with her, and she was afraid the tooth fairy wouldn't, give her something under her pillow. And the pilot heard her being upset and so forth, and he wrote a cute little note to the tooth fairy saying, please allow this note to pass as her tooth, and blah, blah, that she had misplaced it from love from the captain or something like that. So I just thought that was cute. The next question comes from Crystal and Tanner. Crystal and Tanner are in Barrie. So Crystal and Tanner said, we really want to buy, but with the constant interest hikes, it's making it harder and harder. Our landlord wants us to sign another year lease. Do you think we should sign? Thank you, Crystal and Tanner, for asking. That is a really hard one. So I will talk about that later as well in the real estate section. But some people say, like, let's just say currently you're approved for 600, and then with the interest rates hikes with your debt to service ratio and so forth, you might only be approved for 515, and homes might be worth less. They're 600 now, and they might be worth 515 then, or 530 then, or what have you. But because the interest rates are going to be higher, your payments might not be any lower, and they might even be higher. So to say to pay rent for another year. That depends who you ask. Some people say no and get into a home. At least you're paying down your own principal. And then there's other people that are just leaving the province, to be honest, because it's very difficult to get into a mortgage for first-time buyers right now. So I'll talk about more in the real estate section, okay? But thank you for asking. Okay, one more thing before real estate. So one good deed that happened returned another good deed. So there was a young man, and he was in California, and he found a green purse in a shopping cart just outside of a supermarket, and it was full of cash and credit cards. And again, he just graduated high school, and some people would say like punky kids or something like that, and they take the money, etc. But instead of taking the money or even returning the purse inside, he looked inside and saw the driver's license, saw the address, and took the purse to the lady's home. She was not home, but she had a Ring camera, and somebody else answered the door that lived there. And when she saw on the Ring camera how young he was, and that she had, or she has a young son as well, she wanted to reward him for doing the right thing. So she posted the Ring camera video and put a GoFundMe saying like, let's reward this young man for, doing the right thing. And within 2 weeks, there was over $17,000 US for this young man. So I just thought that was cute. So that's that. So now we're going to go into real estate, okay? So again, if you guys have any questions, feel free to ask them in the chat. Otherwise, I'm just going to blab away. And again, I hope you guys are having a super week so far and had a lovely, warm weekend. Last weekend, it was so hot. Felt like I lived in the tropics. So I'm going to get right into real estate. So as most of you know, last Wednesday, the 13th, the interest rates went up from the Bank of Canada by 1 full percent. So some economists were saying they think it would go up 0.5, others were saying 0.75, and it went up 1, so higher than anybody had actually thought that it would go up. That is the highest interest rate it's gone up all at once in 24 years. So the last time it went up that high was 1998. So not that high, but just that high at once, okay? So a full 1% last time that happened was in 1998. So there's 3 more possible times that it could go up this year. That was like what the one person was asking. And so some economists are saying they don't think the next 3 times it'll go up at all. Others are saying yes, but not as drastic, maybe 0.25 or something like that. The next one is September 7th, then October 26th, and then December 7th. But they could come and pass and just say, hey, we're not putting it up today. Or they could say, hey, we're putting it at 0.25 or 0.5 or 1, etc. If you hear basis points, for example, if they say it's going to go up 50 basis points, that means 0.5%, okay? If you hear 25 basis points, that means 0.25%, and that's the Bank of Canada. And normally prime is 1% under what the Bank of Canada is. So your variable rate will be 1% under what they're offering, just as an FYI, okay? So some economists are warning buyers sitting on the sidelines, again, which is kind of what the other person was asking. Oh, my dog. The other person was asking. So they're warning people from buyers from staying on the sidelines because they're like, hey, yes, you might buy your home for cheaper, next year, later this year, etc. But because interest rates are going up, it'll either come out in the wash or you might end up paying even more because interest rates are higher. So you think, hey, I saved $80,000 on this home or $100,000 on this home, woohoo for me. However, your interest rates are higher, and then over the term, one, you're paying more per month, and then over the term it ends up being more. So they're actually saying it's not good to sit and wait, and that people should just get in and start paying down the principal themselves. So just as an FYI, okay? Charlie, hi Melissa, is living his best life there. No playing for him recently, but just chilling on the sectional couch. He's very tired today. He's had a big day yesterday and a big week actually. Okay, so that's what most economists are saying. And then there was a senior economist, Sean, what was his name, Cathcart, and he basically said people should settle down. And his exact wording was, yes, some places have gone down 3%, some 5%, but he said in the past 2 years, a lot of places have gone up 50%, 70%, etc. So he said it's small potatoes if you're losing 3% or 5% or 6%, and he said for people to calm down. Okay, so that's what Sean said. So the current benchmark price is 2.5, just in case you guys were not aware. And the current fixed rate is just sitting just a little shy of 5%, which means if you were to get approved right now, your debt to service ratio, and you wanted to get locked in for a fixed 5-year, would have to be approved at just below 7%. So what you spend versus what you make, etc. It all has to work out at that higher rate, that just below 7. Okay, so if you spend, or you make $100, are you spending $90? Are you spending $30? Are you spending $62, etc.? They'll look at all of that, but they're going to look at your payments at just shy of 7% if you're doing a fixed rate. Okay. Okay. So some economists have said they think there will be an adjustment in 2023 of up to 20%. However, I'll tell you later about numbers and stuff. And some people say, yes, it might go down that. And others are saying, even if it goes down that, it's still up as a whole over 15% on average. So it's only going to go down 5, which is still way higher than it was 2 years ago. So some people, again, are saying big whoop-de-doo-da. Others are saying it's not even going to go down 20% because they're saying because of immigrants coming in and still the high demand. Okay, so it just depends which economist you believe. It depends which article you read, etc. And their studies, and they all are all over the place. So it depends which one you read. Okay. Again, if you guys have any questions, feel free to ask them. Otherwise, I will just blab away. Okay. So there was an article this week, and it said that homes were down 24%. And some people were like, oh no, they're down 24%, but they really don't look at the full picture. So what it really meant was that 24% less homes were sold in Canada in June. So in 2021, there was 63,280 to be exact. And this year there were 48,176. So that was what was down 24%, but the average sales price was not down 24%, okay? And then locally, I know that's obviously all of Canada, and majority of you are like, what's happening locally, etc. By the way, hi Jason, hi Matt, thank you guys for popping in. So what is happening locally? So again, I'm going to give you a bunch of numbers, so I apologize if it's too much, but Simcoe County, there were 41.8% less homes sold in June 2022 versus June 2021. If we just look at Barrie, there was 47.2% less homes sold. Again, don't think the market's dropped 47% or 41% because I'll go over all of that with you guys as well. And this in June was the first time since October of 2019 that there has been over 1,000 homes for sale on the market. Okay, so there was a lot of homes, a lot of inventory in June. Again, the highest since 2019. Okay, over 1,000. Not since 2019, just the first time it's been over 1,000 since 2019. If that made sense, hopefully that made sense. So all of this talk of like 41% and 47%, etc. What they're really saying is the number of homes sold. Okay, again, not the sales prices. So now I will say the sales prices and go over that. So you guys hopefully can get the bigger picture. And again, if you have any questions, feel free to write them in the chat. So the average price of a home sold was $924,000. There was other numbers in there, 830, but I just like saying 924 is easier. So 924 was the average sales price, and that was up 9.7%. So yes, 41.8% less homes sold, but they were up 9.7. Okay, so I just like people to see the full picture. And the average sales price to date is $1,009,254 if you want to be specific, but $1,009,000, which is up 26.1% over 2021. So again, yes, less homes are sold, but the headlines just like to read the down part and they don't like to read the up part. So the up part was we were up 26.1% over 2021 in all of Simcoe. Okay. And when we just do Barrie, so year to date, so meaning all the way from January to year to date, not just this month versus last month, etc. In Barrie, the average sales price was $899,271, and that is up 24.3%. Okay, so yes, less homes are sold, but they're still up 24.3%. And again, it just depends if you're looking specifically in Barrie, if you're looking this month compared to last month, or this month compared to last year the same time, or this January to just last week compared to last January to last week of 2021. Do you know what I mean? It just depends which numbers you look at. Sales, number of homes sold is down basically across the board, but average sales price is not, okay? So just want to be clear with you guys so you can have the full picture. So there has been over $305.2 million worth of home sales. You know, let's just say a home sold for $600,000. That obviously goes into that number. So $305.2 million worth of real estate has traded hands in Simcoe County in 2022. And in June in Simcoe, there was 1,143 listings. So that's like what I mentioned earlier, that there was over 1,000. So 1,143 to be exact. So that was the highest June to date. Okay. And in 2021 in Simcoe, there were 949 homes sold. So again, that's 2021. In 2022, there was only 522. So yes, that is 45% less. Okay. But the last year, the average sales price was 802 and change, 857 if you actually want to know, but 802. And this year it was 832, and again 698 if you actually want to know. Okay, so 832 this year, 802 last year. So yes, 45% less homes sold, but they did sell for more money. Okay, so again, headlines just like to say the bad stuff, not the good stuff. Now, if we look last year in Simcoe County, the average days on market was 13, and this year the average days on market is 19, so it is taking a bit longer, but it's not like it's 13 to 79 or anything crazy like that. And last year, the average home sold over asking, so it sold for 107.2% of asking, and this year it's only sold for 98.5. So some people might say like, oh, see, it's down from over 100 to 98. However, prices, again, I will tell you, so just because it just means there was more bidding wars last year, but doesn't mean the actual sales prices are down. Okay, so although they're not selling for 107.2% of asking, the average sales price is still up. So as I mentioned in Simcoe County in June of last year, the average was 802 and change, and this year is 832 and change. So it's still higher. Okay, and then in Barrie of June, not all of Simcoe, the other one was all of Simcoe, but just in Barrie, there were 288 homes sold, and last year, and this year there's only 156, so less. Yes, correct. And last year it took only 10 days to sell. This year it takes on average 17. And last year homes were selling for 108.3% of asking. This year they're only selling for 98.7. But last year the average sales price in Barrie in June was 745 and change, and this year the average sales price is 787 and change. Okay, so we just need to know the whole picture, because again, they like the doom and gloom and not show the whole picture. Okay. All right. So in Barrie, of those 156 homes that I mentioned that sold, the detached average sales price was $875. Again, I won't give the extra numbers. The townhomes were $667,000, and the condos were $611,000. And then the detached homes were up 6.3%. Their average days on market was 17. Townhomes were up 13.6%, and their average days on market was 15. Condos were also up. They were up 14.2%, and their average days on market was 20. And across Simcoe County, there were actually some that were down. So some were up, some were down, and I will tell you guys those. So in Agila, they were actually, so that's Agila Toronto. I don't know if that's how you say it, but I always say it that way. So they were down 4.3%. Then Bradford, West Gwimelberry was up 17.4%. Clearview was up the most, 67.7%. So yay to Clearview. Oro was up 9.9%. Penetang was up 6%. Severn was up 20.9%. I already told you guys. Barrie. Springwater was down 3%. Tay was down 1.3%, and Tiny was down 1.6%. Okay, and those were average sales prices, 2022 versus, June 2022 versus June 2021. Okay, so when we look at Simcoe County of June 2022 versus May 2022, okay, June 2022 versus May 2022. I know I give you guys a lot of information, so thank you for sticking in there. So home prices were down 7.6%. However, so in May in Simcoe County, the average was 901. Again, change, I don't give you the change. And now it's 832, which is down 7.6%. However, this is normal this time of year. So last year was similar. So last year, the average price in May was 835, and then in June, it was 787. So 901 to 832 this year. Last year, 835 to 787. So it's just common this time of year because we get more inventory, right? More people want to move in the summer, etc. It doesn't mean that, it's crazy dropped or whatever. It just happens this time of year when there's more inventory, just like it's always higher January, February, sometimes March, because there's no inventory. Okay, so that's that. So prices to get into Simcoe County, basically, if you're curious of how much things have been costing, etc. So detached home in Simcoe County will cost you just over $900,000. A semi-detached will cost you about $659 and change. A townhome will cost you $696 and change, and a condo will average you about $623,000. Okay, and if we look year to date, so again January 1st to now, 36.8% less homes sold. However, the average sales price was $1,019,000 and change, and that's up 21.6%. Okay, that's for detached homes, so $1,019,000 for a detached home. And if we look at semi-detached homes, 25.7% less homes sold. However, the average sales price was $756,000, and that is up 21.1%. Okay. Townhomes, 36.9% less homes sold. However, the average sales price was $761,000, and that is up 25.6%. Seeing a trend here. The condos, 28.6% less condos were sold, but the price was $633,000. Again, this is year to date, which is up 22.5% over last year's year to date when you did it January 1st to then last year. Okay. So it's forecasted that by the end of the year that prime might be around 5.2. And some people, when they talk to their financial institution and so forth, and like, what should we do, etc. So again, variables are normally 1% less. So even if it did go up to 5.2, etc., if you were still in a variable, your mortgage would be $295 less per month than somebody who was locked in at a fixed 5-year. Okay? Even though more people have fixed than variable, that is just something that you might want to know about the variable. And some people, just so you know, for variable, say for example their mortgage is $2,700, a lot of banks will set it at a set amount, and they'll say, hey, we're going to take out $3,200 every month, so you know. And then that way, if there's extra on top, they just put that extra towards the principal. And if there is an extra because the rates have changed, then it just more goes towards interest. You know what I mean? So that way people still have the set amount, because a lot of people do like the fixed just so they have the set amount. However, variable can be set up as a set amount as well. Okay? All right. So next question comes from Graham and Oro. So Graham and Oro said, I meant to lock in before the rate hike, but didn't in time. Is there any way to backtrack and backdate it so I can still have the lower rates? Graham, so I'm a real estate broker, not a mortgage broker, but my guess would be no. My guess would be they could get in a lot of trouble for that and possibly lose their job or their license. I'm not positive though, because that's not my profession, but my guess would probably be a big no, unfortunately. You can check with somebody, but I don't think that they can do that. Sorry. So next thing is a 16-year-old, basically to the rescue. So a 16-year-old, it was 2:30 in the morning, and he saw off in the distance people screaming on a car. And so they were about 75 meters from the bridge that he was walking over. And he instinctively took off his shoes and put his cell phone down, his shirt, etc., and dove into the water. Turns out that there was, I don't know if one of them had called the police or somebody else had called the police or something, but police were shortly thereafter, but I guess they weren't as strong as swimmers with the current, etc. So he ended up saving 3 teenagers plus a police officer, the 16-year-old boy, so, or man, or whatever you want to call him. So I thought that was cool. The next question comes from Jeff in Newmarket. So Jeff in Newmarket said, I want to sell my place and move off the grid. Do off-the-grid homes come up for sale often? Thank you, Jeff, for asking. I don't know if you strictly just mean solar or how off-the-grid you mean. They're obviously not as common, but they do still come up. Just like power of sales aren't as common, but they do come up. Just like estate sales aren't as common, but they do come up. Just like grow-ups aren't as common, but they do come up, and so forth. So they do come up. Sometimes there's not like a set button. There is something about, solar panels, etc. However, it's not mandatory. So if the agent doesn't check it off, then it won't come up to you. But obviously they're more common further north than they are around here. But thank you for asking. Another, I think, happy story. So basically, obviously, say somebody's on the spectrum or what have you. Sometimes people treat them differently, etc. So there was this man, now he's a man named Vaughn. And he grew up in the Middle East, and he's on the spectrum, and he always had a hard time connecting with other people and reading their emotions, etc. But he found that if he could speak the same language as them, he had an easier time. So it's called hyper-polyglot. I might be saying that wrong, which means you can speak more than 11 languages. So he can actually speak 40. So he wants to learn more. He can already speak 40, and he feels like he connects with people. He connects with people much better now that he can speak their language. So I just like that, because regardless if, somebody tells you or your children or something like that, if they're on the spectrum, that they can't, go after their dreams or do whatever they want, this guy is proving that you can, and he can speak 40 languages. So that's super cool. Joel is the next question, and Joel is from Thornton. He said, I hear lots of people are leaving the province. Do you think value will hold up in other provinces as much as it has in Ontario? Joel, to be honest, so sometimes I do stats in Canada, sometimes I say stuff about BC, etc., but I don't like month after month look up New Brunswick or PEI or Manitoba, etc. I would say 8 or 9 of our clients out of 10 are leaving province, but I've never done enough research month over month over month from the other places. I just sometimes do it just so it's not always local. But I mean, on average, obviously Toronto and Vancouver, have been the dominant markets, but I can't say like, does Yellowknife or whatever. So you'd have to check more specifically to those provinces or territories, etc. So I can't really answer that fully, so I'm sorry. And one more thing. So some people are obviously the type of people they call in sick for everything, right? So there was a fellow, he's 27 years working at Burger King. He's never called in sick a day in his life. And after his 27th year, they gave him a gift, and he opened it and had one of his coworkers record him. You know how maybe the older generation or whatever, they're whatever on Facebook, etc. So he posted it and he was all thankful. He got like a pass for the movies. He got some candy, some pens, etc., Starbucks cup. And he posted it thinking it was great. And other people basically shared it a bunch of times saying he's worked there 27 years. How is this all he's getting? And his daughter ended up setting up a GoFundMe and saying, not saying that, we're asking for money. However, if you think he deserves more than they gave him, here's a GoFundMe, and we'd love for him to visit his grandchildren. And within 3 weeks, there was over $270,000 US deposited to this man that had worked at Burger King for almost 3 decades. I was going to say centuries, 3 decades. So I just thought that was super cute because, he gets to see his grandkids now and go on a trip to see them. And he was a single dad of 2 girls, or still is, but they're adults now. So anyways, I thought that was cute. Thank you guys for popping in. Again, if you have any questions, feel free to reach out. You can call our office at 705-726-7000. Again, 705-726-7000. You can ask about our 1% listing commission, or if you just have questions or you have any questions about Airbnbs, etc. As I do that, or investing, etc., I would be happy to chat. Hopefully have a brilliant evening and take care. Thank you for popping in.